Well, so first, I'm the ICT Strategy Officer for the city of Linköping. And I would like to talk about some policies that we have taken in Linköping to set our personnel to use electronic solutions instead of traveling. And all these policies steers people to walk, take the bike or the bus instead of the car. And they go for some kind of meeting somewhere in the city or in the municipality area or in other parts of Sweden or rest of the world. To start with, Linköping is a city which is quite small if you compare it to other European cities. It's just around 55,000 inhabitants. But the city has quite a profile. When you talk about Linköping in other parts of Sweden, you talk about the university, you talk about the fact that we build aircrafts, both civil and military aircrafts. You talk about all the ICT companies, and the fourth thing to talk about is the environmental city. We have developed within the municipality different kinds of solutions that makes contributes to a better environment. I'll talk about that a little bit later. And the overall political objective which we work against to fulfill, and we want to be CO2 neutral at 2025. This objective, this target is a couple of years old. And what it means is that we will produce environmental friendly solutions like biogas for driving cars and buses and stuff. We produce that in Linköping, and we could produce energy and different kinds of energy sources, all cycling stuff at the same level as we use. And now talk about the whole municipality area, all households, companies, and so on. So it's the driver for our environmental work, so to speak. A couple of years ago, we decided that we should have a new travel policy. And the main thing with this is, if you don't need to go somewhere physically, don't do it. You always try to have a video meeting or telephone conferencing meeting instead. Of course, this is quite good for the costs, of course, and you will have better availability. If you don't go somewhere, you can have your meeting and then you can start up with next time right after the meeting. But of course, it will have a positive effect on the environment if we don't go somewhere, or our car, or with the bus, and so on. And this is priority. If you can first start to have a e-meeting, then you walk, then the bicycle, and so on. So we have cycles in the municipality, in administration, all over the municipal area. Some are electric, actually, but the most of them are manual, so to speak. So this is the basic. Everyone should really think, and I have a couple of examples. A couple of weeks ago, they wanted me to go up to a little bit north in Sweden. It was a drive of 3 hours. They wanted me to speak out over broadband. I said, no, I won't come there. You'll have to arrange a webinar instead. A couple of colleagues from the City Council and Region Council joined me on this meeting due to the fact that they didn't have to go to the parts. So the availability, you can join also. Last year, we implemented the climate compensation program. This means if someone goes somewhere out walking or bicycling. If you go by car or bus or whatever, as long as you have a cost somewhere, you will pay, your department will pay your tax. Money used for climate compensation projects. So we use the money that we get this way to drive the development of new environmental things. Technical, it can be whatever. We have this in a big coffin, so to speak. So this is very, very important for us to drive the use of technical solutions like the kind we use today. We implemented the Link platform 2007, and we can see that the use of webinar, web meetings, or telephone conference meetings is increasing. And last year, around 50,000 e-meetings. As you can imagine, that's just a small percent of the number of meetings that we have every day. What's very interesting to see is that 5,000 of these meetings were with external parties. So when we think about having web meetings, usually you think about having meetings with colleagues in Bristol or colleagues in Stockholm or whatever, but that's not true. We know that this is having a very good effect on the availability and efficiency of our departments, because we can usually have the meeting much faster in time due to the fact that no one really needs to go to a specific place, and also then be going while they are on the meeting, which is you can dial in, and when you have a computer connection, internet connection, you just connect and you continue your meeting in that manner. What that we will do now is that we will, this service actually costs for every department, but I believe that we will release it for free, so you can order it for free if you want to have it to make it possible for everyone to join the meetings. Well, I think that's what I was supposed to talk about today. If you have any questions, then we can have into it further.
Thank you very much, Fredrik. It was really interesting, and I encourage you in the participants, if you would like to ask questions to get more details about this way of working. If you're interested, don't hesitate. You can raise your hand using this small icon next to your name, and we can have a few questions, because Fredrik will need to leave us a bit later, so it's now. So
yes.
Yeah. So if you would like to share your Silvana would like to talk.
Yes. Hi, Fredrik. Silvana from ICTFOOTPRINT. Very interesting insights on what you're doing. Something I'll talk about in my presentation coming up fast is clearly around some fantastic ICT products or services that are helping organizations reduce their carbon footprint. So my question to you is, obviously, if you have any of these organizations that you can give us some tips to contact, and they could be part of our marketplace, we'd love to hear from them. I presume you yourself would be one of them, correct me if I'm wrong. And so we'd like to clearly capitalize on this opportunity now during this webinar to learn further things from what you've just described here, but from an ICT perspective.
Okay. So was the question if we have any tools, or was the question that if we want to participate in this program?
The project I'm going to describe is looking at how carbon footprint of ICT can be reduced.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's if we can engage with some organisations that we're not aware of today in Sweden that you're in contact with, that could be part of this community, then we will do that link.
Yeah. Okay. Hard actually, because I'm not in a specific fora, which we just talk about that, but we have a regional fora with all the team managers and strategists included. And if you have some products that can be useful actually, because we're meeting. We're using a tool which we have developed ourselves for inventory of all the equipment that we have. Then we actually process which were developed during the NICE project, the Eurocities NICE project. But I know that not everyone have those kinds of tools actually, so it might be.
So just about Fredrik, this in the equipment, you've introduced ICT elements to help reduce organisations' carbon footprint. So from an ICT perspective, is this what you're saying?
Yeah, to start with, since 2004, we have been coordinating all internal equipment. So we have a central delivery, so to speak, the service delivery catalog. So our departments are not allowed to buy anything else except for that. So we can actually standardize all the equipment that we have. And all equipment is also cycled in a proper manner. And what we have is that we have a tool where we can measure how many hours every equipment and every type of equipment all of the municipality administration is connected up and running, and then we have been measuring their usage. So because we know that the data which is presented on all products does not match actually real life. So that's what we do. We do that every second year actually.
Okay, thank you. Now, I'll pick this up then after the webinar then, Fredrik. That would be wonderful. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. I give the floor to Jaak. If you can, if you hear us, Jaak, are you here?
Here? Can you hear me?
Yes, and we can see you as well, so it's okay.
Excellent. Thank you. Yes, I will go to the topic of the ICT that is actually running these applications. Fredrik, thank you so much for presenting this. This is excellent, good practice. Very interesting to see how you really embedded it in your daily activities, and I think that's actually quite great. And this is also a very good example of what we see happening every day. So ICT was introduced. It was actually a tool to support daily administrative tasks. It grew into a tool supporting public services from the city's perspective, and now it's actually the key driver of the improvement of quality of life. So it's really a smart city tool, and it's really at the core of what we all do. That it means that there is more and more ICT everywhere, right? So this is yet another hockey stick graph, one that we know quite well. If we look at ICT, it's an exponential curve, and that means that amount for ICT is growing more quickly and quickly, and it's more and more deployed in the cloud, which is which has some aspects to it. One of it is that cloud applications are sometimes a little bit more easy to optimize than applications that are scattered across different machines. And also illustrated by the graph on the right, which shows the energy consumption and predicted by the United States government. The prediction was if we do not do anything on energy efficiency, it will continue to grow in the same hockey stick shape as the demand growth. They're working quite a lot on energy efficiency, and the slope is, well, it's horizontal and it's going down, partially due to the move to hyperscale computing, which means Google, Facebook, Amazon, etc., the cloud platforms that optimize their IT, well, very aggressively. We want that too, of course. We want all ICT applications to be as energy efficient as possible. That's what we are working on. This is one of the projects that we use as a carrier for our activities. The Eureka project focuses on tooling support for procurement of energy efficient ICT solutions, so basically data centers and data center services. And we start by the identification of opportunities, follow guidelines, perform cost-benefit analysis, and see what you can buy or what you can optimize. It's a very interesting project which liaises with the ICT Footprint project that will be presented later. And I would like to ask you, if you're interested in this, please have a look at the website. Before we actually, or after you procured ICT and before you evaluate it, you need to know why you're evaluating your ICT. As Fredrik demonstrated, ICT can have a very positive impact on the energy consumption in your city or resulting from your city's activities. It doesn't mean that the ICT itself doesn't use any energy. It just means that the benefit of using this ICT is bigger than the cost. And you want to analyze. We borrowed and we actually use a framework developed by the VU University of Amsterdam, which is called SOSA, Software Sustainability Assessment Methodology. And this looks at both the immediate impact and the impact, and thirdly, systemic impact. So the immediate impact is, for example, your ICT uses energy, and the enabling impact is that you save energy on avoiding travel, for example. First, identify meaningful metrics. 2, measure and monitor. And 3, perform your trade-off analysis where you compare the energy consumption and the energy cost to other values, other qualities that you are looking for. And that's something we do hardware level by looking at least 3 different layers. I won't talk about the infrastructure layer today. I will give you 4 examples that go into the software application layer and the virtualization platform and the utilization of the compute hardware. 3 things to keep in mind. An application uses the hardware and it's a software application that tells the hardware that it needs to consume energy. So you want to minimize how much hardware it uses. Virtualization platform is used to optimize how much of the hardware a specific application is using, and you also optimize, of course, how the hardware itself is running. An example resulting from a case study performed by Sarah, the supercomputer based in Amsterdam. It's a little bit farther away from our daily practice than you'd expect, but at the same time, we got some interesting conclusions from looking at this case study. Sarah, a high-performance computing setup, and performance computers are super fast computers that can perform very complex calculations. And to do that, they use a lot of processing cores, very large amounts of memory and storage, etc. One thing you can do, for example, with them is to calculate weather models and you can use that to make predictions about what will happen, for example, with traffic patterns or with energy production or, well, midterm, some other use cases. What we're looking for in this case study is clues about whether optimization for speed, as you do with high-performance computing, has a positive or a negative effect on energy consumption of the application. They concluded that yes, optimization for speed has a positive effect on energy efficiency. However, it's not necessarily true that the fastest application use the least amount of energy. This is interesting because energy consumption is both related to the time an application is running, to the power that the hardware draws. So if your application is running for a shorter amount of time, then it uses less energy. However, the way computers are constructed cause different types of relationships between the power consumption and the time an application is running. And this learns that in order to know whether or not the speed optimization is also an energy efficiency optimization, you need to actually perform measurements. And again, Fredrik right that the measurements are necessary. They tell us more than the models. At the same time, these numbers were compared to the models about how much energy you would expect the application to use based on data provided by the suppliers. And there were some interesting deviations. Yes, you need to measure. Next case study tells us a little bit more about specific applications run better in specific environments. This study is about a business application that is running in the cloud. It's called the OpenWave application, and it is used by public administrations to manage permits for construction work, like roadworks. It's an application relatively simple. It's constructed in 3 tiers. One part is the database functionality. Where do we store the data and how? The second part is the application logic. What does the application do? And the third part is the presentation layer. Where you determine what you show and how you show information to the end user and where do you collect your data. By default, this application runs in one tier, so all the 3 groups are tiered together, but it has the option to get to 3 different layers to run in different virtual machines. That means you can instruct different clusters to group functionality. And we want to know whether or not this would make sense from an energy consumption perspective. What is it's a lot of difference from the performance perspective. So if you do application on 3 different virtual machines, also distributed over different physical machines, there's significant performance improvement. Everything runs a lot faster. However, the energy consumption was exactly the same. So the extra overhead by running it in 3 different machines was compensated for by the increased efficiency, and the total consumption was the same. We think this is interesting. It could be better, of course. It's good, and you could draw a conclusion that it often makes a lot of sense to distribute your application. But we want more, we are in this next case. This is number 3 from 4. We look at the virtualization platform. With virtualization, you have 1 or more physical machines. On this machine, you run this virtualization system, and then you make it look like there are more than 1 or quite a lot of virtual machines running on this one physical server. This is typically very good because normally a server is heavily underutilized. It has a lot of capacity, and when running an application, it only uses quite a small fragment of this capacity. And by using virtualization, you can increase how much of the IT capacity you're actually using. You can increase it from maybe 10% to 50%, or and that's good because it avoids waste. However, are all virtualization platforms the same? And is the effect of virtualization the same for all different applications? The answer is no. We compared 2 different virtualization platforms, and with we, I mean project Greening the Clouds, more specifically the University of Amsterdam and Vlasveld. And they looked at two different virtualization platforms. So one is Zen and the other is KVM. Both open source and used a lot in practice. And the very large differences. The first conclusion was if you KVM and you have one or very little virtual machines, then you're far more efficient. This makes sense because KVM is an extension to the operating system itself and scales down the CPU usage. To stress your CPU, then KVM is also more efficient. However, if your application purely stresses the hard disk, then there's no difference between the two. And if memory uses the core functionality of your application, then Xen is by far better. This was a difference of 12% more energy efficiency. That's where the combination of all the different stresses, an application that stresses all the components is more efficient if you run it in a Xen virtualization environment. So the application has a very strong impact on how you have to manage the virtual machines. An example, I've seen this before. I still think it's an excellent example to show that a very simple optimization can have a very large effect. This is about power management at the hardware level. So we look at the application level, the virtualization level, and now we're looking at the hardware level. This research done by Silvana looking at SurfDrive. SurfDrive is a firing application used by academic institutes and research institutes in the Netherlands. It has 17,000 users, runs on 16 servers, and it's like Dropbox for academia. Running on Dell servers, and when Dell servers come from the factory, and they have power management functionality, and this functionality says if the processor is not being used, it pulls down its frequency and it uses less energy. Typically, when these servers are taken into production, the IT department switches off this energy-saving functionality because they don't know how it will interact with your application. Using a lab, a testing environment like Silvana did, you can verify whether or not there is actually a negative impact of turning on these power management features. And it appeared that there was no negative impact at all. The performance was not significantly different if the power management functionality was switched on. So max performance setting to have the energy saving feature switched off, that's definitely a misnomer. There is no performance difference. And we suggest that if you have a newer server, and you should have a newer server because they are more efficient, you should test the testing environment. If you don't have one yourself, get a partner that does have a testing environment and see if you can switch it on. You will easily reduce 20% of energy needed to run your application. These were for case studies. You can get the presentations. You can look at the links below the studies, and you can see a lot more information there. Takeaways: enable power management features whenever possible. When optimizing, don't only optimize for performance, but also for energy efficiency. And again, if you don't have the tools to do this yourself, get a partner that wants to do it for you. We work with the VU University Amsterdam. They're always very happy to put these assessments because it gives them more information that they can use to build their corpus of data for assessing good practices. And you have to realize that the education is unique. Its profile matters, and reading literature will give you some very good first starting points, but it will not give you the definite answer on how you should manage your application to optimize it for energy consumption. That's my presentation. 3 links. I'm looking forward to the next presentation myself too. First is to the Green Lab. It's a laboratory setting with software lab that actually measures at the hardware level, at the component level, the energy consumption of services, and it relates this to the applications running on it. So this is the Eureka project, and third, the ICT footprint. That's me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jaak. That was very interesting presentation and more technical. I don't know if there are questions for clarifications or if anyone wants to share what they're doing in their city or their company. So free to share your thoughts, comments, or questions. You can do so by raising your hand using the small icon. You can also write it in the chat where I can, if you cannot talk, then I can read your question to the speaker. But don't hesitate to ask questions. But if there are questions, I don't see.
Well, if questions now, then it's also always, of course, possible to contact me later.
Yeah. Okay. I will share your presentation as well with the participants. So. Okay. Thank you very much. So yeah, so if you're here, you can.
Yeah, just a quick maybe comment, maybe so much maybe question to Jaak, but maybe for the audience's benefit, we're obviously synergizing with Jaak. He's one of our external experts as well on ICT footprint, and what we're trying to do is also showcase some of your success stories, Jaak, aren't we, on our platform? So I think this is a good visibility from an ICT perspective too, and I think it's important that I do that obviously because it then catapults out to a larger community, doesn't it? We hope.
Yeah.
Okay,
so if you can see my screen then.
Yeah, right.
Hello, everybody. I'm Silvana Muscella. I'm the CEO of Trust IT Services and the project coordinator of ICT Footprint. I'm the final speaker. Thank Nicholas and Edith for putting this together and on behalf of the Green Digital Charter. ICT Footprint is their partners. This Trust IT, we're an SME. We communicate ICT to markets, and together with us, there's Deloitte Sustainability from France and Eurocities with Nicholas and Edith, who support us to get this message out to their cities. So today's intervention on our part is to be talking to yourselves. So what is ICTFOOTPRINT.eu? We are a coordination support action that is funded under Horizon 2020. We're going to be running for 36 months, so you're not going to get rid of us very soon. Began in February 2016, and we want to become the European hub that's rapidly developing to support organisations of all sizes, public entities, and also simple citizens in increasing their awareness around low-carbon solutions in ICT. So ICT is obviously the key word here. So I've described the partners, and we have an amazing external advisory group, all content rich, from a global perspective, who deal with these matters on a daily basis. So now we're saying that 10 million SMEs across Europe are ICT intensive, but that they cannot perform their normal business operations. This is almost 1 in 2 SMEs in Europe. So whilst intensive usage of ICT is a positive sign to help digitalize all processes, ICT also comes at a cost. And this is why ICT Print was funded. The more we use ICT, the more energy is consumed. So while energy bills keep increasing for organizations, almost 10% of all energy used and 4% of carbon emissions in the environment are calculated as coming from ICT only. So the reason we're about here is because we think the carbon footprint of ICT can be reduced by developing awareness of the advantages around So that's why actions like ICT Footprint come out, and to help use ICT products and services that are conscious about energy efficiency. And here we have a very important statistic in terms of savings by 2020. So in terms of looking at statistics and challenges for SMEs specifically and local authorities, there are 4 basic challenges that are around of why this is the case in helping you to assess your environmental footprint. You know, SME, I don't have time to do this, so lack of time and resources is one. I don't know enough about how I even go about understanding this. There's a lack of incentive and lacking tangible benefits. So in order to reduce all of that in the previous slide, ICT Footprint has specific goals for the next 3 years. The ICTFOOTPRINT.eu, and it's called that so everyone can remember the platform, is because the platform actually aims in the end of the 36 months, even though we've got things coming out already for the end of 2016, an actual hub with tools and services that can help our stakeholders inform our different features. So we want to be informative, and that's why we have this platform, and tell the community about some existing ICT methodologies that Nicola mentioned at the very beginning of the webinar that I'm going to show you in a moment, that are available, readily available out there. People are unaware of them, but they are there to help support you lowering your barriers to entry. We want awareness and to help promote green strategies. That's why we have this expert group around the globe telling us about their best practices, success stories that we're able to promote them. We want to create an aggregated community. Why is that? Because Hub, we want to put together a marketplace for both buyers and sellers. Everyone who are solution providers or consumers in the field of energy and environmental efficiency in ICT will say, hey, I've got something to show you that's making savings. Here it is. And I can go as a buyer or seller and actually pick and choose from this marketplace that that the project is aiming to evolve over the 36 months. And we basically have a service area that on the web platform, which also, and this is something that's coming out at the end of the year, works as a type of self-assessment tool where it targets SMEs specifically, and this tool is a work that we're doing in collaboration with Deloitte and Eurocities to help assess carbon and energy footprint, and for SMEs then to share their experiences. Sorry, let me go back there. So our stakeholders, in the context of the webinar today and organised by the Green Digital Charter, there are the public administration and cities who are interested in shaping the policies on carbon footprint reduction methodologies. So here, the marketplace is perfect for cities to actually go and assess what's out there on the market already, and perhaps be replicated with their administration. The solution that Jaak and Fredrik were referring to before clearly could be mirrored in other cities, but we don't have a higher awareness campaign, unaware of what solutions are actually out there. Our IT intensive SMEs are our stakeholders, ICT suppliers that come onto the marketplace and tell us what they have. And lastly, our SDOs make up an important stakeholder group of ICT Footprint, because they're together with a series of other industrial and research institutes put together these ICT methodologies of metrics and standards that are already out there regarding energy efficiency. And this is something that we're, as part of ICT Footprint, is part of our mandate to help ensure these are taken to a level of understanding and actually implemented in organisations' today business practices. So ecosystem is basically what I tried to describe in the previous slides. We have everything running around our .eu platform, which is made up of our marketplace of buyers and sellers. I have my online methodologies, which at the moment is an interactive map that you can actually look at and see if these apply to your products and services that you're working on. We are coming up with the self-assessment tool, which is going to come up at the end of December, our first beta test. And at the same time, we have end users who can look help. We have a help desk in 5 different languages, so you can come and online and ask for any type of specific around the topics we're discussing. And we put together also a set of very successful webinars and events, and we're looking clearly to be the in Europe of where all of this is taking place. As I mentioned, the map of the ICT standards, these are available. If you go online on the .eu, you can click on the ICT standard, and Deloitte has done a very extensive activity in selection and updating what the state-of-the-art of these standards are today, and they're categorized under goods, services, organizations, projects, and cities. And you can go to it's a clickable app. You go to each of them and assess and see which you're more interested in. What we'd also like to know is any of those products or services that are out there have implemented any of these ICTs. If you tell us about that, we'd be very keen to know that specifically, so that something will be out to you to request for in months. So our services for public administrations in the cities, we have our hub, and everything rotates around the ICTFOOTPRINT.eu. With Marketplace, you go through a criteria system if you're a buyer or a seller. It's very simple. If you go online and click on Join the Marketplace, you can see exactly what procedure you need to go through to actually ascertain whether you are an appropriate buyer and seller. And it would be worth you taking time to do this, clearly, because the visibility as weeks and months go on are going to increase. Get involved in our webinars. Actually pose yourself, as we've done. Jaak was one of our expert speakers in our last one. If you have a suitable ICT solution or product, let us know, and we'd be keen to actually provide you with visibility in one of our webinars that we're organising in the coming months. Our next one is in December, so you can already think about that. Told you about Help Desk to help you decrease your city's carbon footprint and understand more about the ICT energy standards. Get hold of us and we'll tell you more. The sharing of success stories too is very important for us, and we'd like to make sure that any that are out there, that we know about them and we're able to provide the appropriate visibility. And then the self-assessment that's a work in progress, and we're giving you more information once that comes out in December. Really, as the benefits are important, why would you bother even joining ICT Footprint? So public administration, there are a series of different activities that you could access to. But I think the most advantageous one is to provide competitive advantages to local business, and making sure that incentive is clearly on the group process, and how you case that your city or your municipality is using low carbon footprint solutions, and we'll be very keen to know about that and showcasing it. And as cities, as ICT consumers, I mentioned the self-assessment tool, so we'll be getting hold of you once this is out, so you can test this for us, so you can measure specifically your city's carbon footprint. Our marketplace green solution providers, and then you have an opportunity to consult the success stories or actually deliver them yourselves. So here's the site if you haven't got it down. Please contact us, join all the different links that make up our community. We're heading for a 5,000 community profiled stakeholders, so not just a bunch of people, but the stakeholders who are relevant to this community. It does make a difference. So subscribe to our newsletter, follow us on Twitter, send any information that you think clearly sits within the midst of this project. And we look forward to discussing synergies in the coming months. With that, this is my presentation, so thank you very, very much for listening. And please do let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Anna. That was really good presentation, and I think there is a lot in for cities and other stakeholders. So that the participants here are going to keep in touch and contact you.
That's great.
Yes, and of course we are going to share the recording of the webinar that will encourage anyone to share with their colleagues, so that we can spread the information about this community and all of those success stories. Which is good. Yeah, it could be great. So I think 5 more minutes. If anyone would like to discuss with our experts and speakers, thanks to them for all very interesting presentations and information. Feel free to share you're doing your work, or if you have questions or comments. You have 2 minutes, so I'm just going to this time, and then we are going to this webinar. You can also write chat box if you would like to add something. Okay, well, I'll see. No, but then I think close the webinar. I don't know if you I see anyone adding something. So I would like to thank you all for being here today. Thanks again to our speakers for their presentations. It was really very interesting, and I can get back to you with the presentations and the recording of the webinar to share the information. And don't hesitate to contact us if you're interested in talking to the next GDC webinars. We are really open to can promote your activities. So thanks again, and I wish you all a very good week and a nice afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks, Judith. Have a lovely day, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.